Jay Monahan might be the biggest hypocrite in the world. Yes, the PGA Tour commissioner is probably the worst thing to happen in golf since Phil Mickelson's 2006 US Open performance. He was that bad. Now, why am I saying all of this? Well, it was just announced earlier this week that the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour, two competing leagues, were going to merge together as one to boost the game of golf. And while this might be good for the game in general, it is terrible for the PGA Tour players, because this deal was done without notifying the PGA Tour or the LIV Tour players. The players were not involved in the negotiations at all. And it is the worst thing to happen to guys like Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, who decided that instead of heading to the LIV Tour 2 years ago, when they were offered hundreds of millions of dollars to play for the Saudi Arabia funded league, they decided to decline it and stay loyal to the PGA Tour. And before we continue to talk about how crazy this is for the golf world and how bad of a guy Jay Monahan is, how about we slow down so y'all can like the video and subscribe to the channel? Because 99% of you guys are unsubscribed, so it would go a long way to subscribing. Plus, we are on the road to 1,000. We are so very close. We only need like a little over 100 more to get over the edge, so it'd be amazing if you were the 1,000th subscriber. Anyway, that's it. Let's get back to the video. For now, I want to focus on what the PGA and LIV tours actually are. Now, the PGA Tour holds tournaments nearly every weekend, mostly in the United States, but also in other countries in North America, Europe, and Asia, with prize pools worth millions, and I do mean millions of dollars. The tour has been through the home to practically every male golfer you can name. I mean Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, and so on. Those are the guys who have played in the PGA Tour. And it has relationships with, but is separate from, the organizations that stage men's golf for 4 majors. The Masters Tournament, the PGA Championship, the US, and British Open. This, they all have connections with the PGA Tour. As for the LIV golf, that began in late 2021 with the former PGA Tour player Greg Norman as its commissioner, and billions of dollars in backing from the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is known as the Public Investment Fund. LIV lured several PGA Tour players, including major champions like Phil Mickelson and Brooks Koepka, with massive purses, or basically a huge bag. Guaranteed payouts that far surpassed what they could have earned in the established PGA circuit. So, this new LIV tournament that popped up 2 years ago had way more money in it. Plus, LIV promised a sharp break from golf's fusty traditionalism, starting with its name, which, when pronounced, rhymes with give. But it's actually the Roman numeral for 54. The number of holes played in each tournament, kinda ridiculous if you're asking me, but anyway. LIV had music blaring at its events, looser dress codes, and team competitions, and tournaments that lasted 3 days instead of 4. Further, and of particular appeal to potential players, while the PGA Tour tournaments cut golfers with worse scores after 2 rounds, LIV did not cut anyone. It was a more fun and open new league, trying to draw players not just with money, but with aspects of the game that they didn't like with the PGA. So honestly, it was, as much as it sucked when it was first announced, it's basically only made the game better. Now, unfortunately for the players who decided to go with LIV earlier, while they did get hundreds of millions of dollars, they were, forced to resign from the PGA Tour and its European equivalent, the DP World Tour. Under the threat of suspension and fines, LIV sued the PGA Tour, and the PGA Tour countersued litigation that it's technically continuing, but it'll probably get resolved considering the fact that these two leagues are merging instead of, fighting against one another. Now, the PGA Tour supporters and other critics of LIV said that the venture was simply an attempt by the Saudi government to distract attention from its human rights record. But if it wanted to distract attention from its human rights record, maybe, it wouldn't go into the game of golf. That's kind of random, right? But whatever. While LIV supporters said that the PGA Tour was a monopoly that used inappropriate strong-arm tactics to protect its position in big-time sports. And honestly, that I more agree with. I mean, sure, Saudi doesn't have the best human rights record, but neither does the US. I mean, what? Weren't they built on the back of slaves? It doesn't matter. Because the PGA Tour is very clearly a monopoly. I mean, they were lowballing players. They were treating them poorly, kind of like the UFC does. So this is as if the UFC got its own competition in Saudi, backed by the Saudis, and it only boosted the game of MMA. So honestly, I do think this is a good thing for golf, the fact that LIV appeared. Maybe I didn't have the same take on it I did 2 years ago, but besides the point. Now, what does this merger actually mean? Well, the PGA Tour will remain a non-profit organization, because of course they will, and they will retain full control over how its tournaments are played, but all of the PGA Tour's commercial business and rights, such as extremely lucrative rights to televise its tournaments, would be owned by a new, yet unnamed, for-profit entity that is currently called NewCo. Will also own LIV, as well as the commercial and business rights of the DP World Tour. So the board of directors for the new profit entity would be led by, sorry, I'm going to butcher this, Yasir Al-Rumayyan, who is the governor of the Public Investment Fund, aka the people backing LIV Golf. So, you know, things are going to be different, but maybe not too different. Now, 3 other members of the board of executive committee would be the current members of the PGA Tour board. So there will be guys on both sides running this operation, which sounds pretty fair to me. Now, when does this take effect? No one really knows. Negotiations they just ended, so we don't really know when this league is going to start, but it's going to come soon. So it's looking more and more like guys like Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods were absolutely screwed out of hundreds of millions of dollars after the PGA Tour told them to be loyal to them, and that Saudi are villains, made direct connections to 9/11. Jay Monahan did when talking about the LIV Golf, as well as calling their money blood money. So Jay Monahan may not be a good person, but he is a good businessman, because this is great for the PGA Tour. Anyway, that's it for the video. That's all I wanted to say about this whole golf situation. Might not be too long of a video, but it's golf. I covered it once before, and if you hadn't seen, click this video where I might sound a little different when talking about the LIV Golf Tour, but opinions change. It's been 2 years, so catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.